All right. Time for jumping. So what is a jump? So pub function jump. A jump is, so we're going to mutate self. I don't think we need to take anything in. The player knows what a jump really means here. So I'm thinking that we just apply an upward force to ourselves, sort of like gravity right above our head that pulls the player up. So instead of like simulating actually like, muscles in the ground pushing off the ground, we're just gonna say like, hey, gravity reversed to you really hard for a microsecond, like just one frame, and now you just go up now because our velocity stays the same while we're jumping. So we do need a jump velocity. So we need a jump force. So jump force, this is going to be a vector 2. Let's create that here. Jump force is vector 2, new. Again, no x, we're only going to be jumping straight up and down. And I'm thinking, so this is going to be negative. It's like 0.001. So if I do like negative 1.0, let's try that and just see how insanely powerful our jump is. And then we'll go from there. Add in our jump force. And now when we jump, we're going to say self.apply force and a reference to self.jump force. What are you upset about? Cannot borrow self as mutable because it's already borrowed as immutable. Am I gonna have a problem here? Yes, because I'm borrowing self as a mutable. Oh yeah, so this is fun. This is a fun, this is maybe like the problem with using Rust in this way. And when I mean, it's a problem. It's also the good thing. It's like the reason we use Rust. I'm trying to borrow self, but I want to also like borrow this jump force, which is on self. So I've already borrowed self, but I want to borrow jump force that, I want to borrow something that's already borrowed. But one borrow is mutable. So if I change it, like by deleting jump force, then it's gonna freak out Rust. And so Rust doesn't want me to like borrow something immutably while I'm also borrowing mutably. That's the entire borrow system. That's how we stay safe. So there's a couple different ways we could handle this. I could not store this on the player. I could pass it in. So I could basically not have the jump force there, not put you there, not put you there. I could bring in the jump force. And so this means that the entire world just knows, here's a jump force. You can go ahead and use that. I could make it a constant and have it be outside of the struct and use that. That also would potentially work. I'm thinking right now, just for ease of use, and then maybe one of the design patterns will help us here. Maybe it won't, I don't know. We can just basically have, okay, we're gonna take in a jump force, and that's going to be a reference to a vector 2, which is an F32. And then I just want to apply the jump force. And so it's still a jump, but jump force will now be stored in the main entire arena. I don't know. This doesn't make me feel super good. The other choice is that I clone jump force every single time we jump. I mean, not the worst thing in the world. If I clone jump force, let's bring everything back to the way I had it. have jump force there. Okay, so if I clone jump force, so let jump force equals self dot jump force dot clone. So I'm going to clone it first, and now I can just pass in a reference to jump force. This makes the compiler happy as well, but like it is using extra memory. It's not too much memory. There's only one player. It's a code smell, and there's certainly a better way for me to organize the code. Maybe have like forces be some like other struct that the player has. Maybe use specs or an ECS system. That way I don't have to like run into this type of thing. But unfortunately, because I made the decision to have the jump force taken, or no, sorry, apply force taken a reference, I have to do this here. Or figure out some other way to store jump force. Until then, let's just keep this the way it is. It's not optimal. Now in our main library, we're gonna want to like capture if the space bar is being pressed down. Oh, and you know, we have another lesson that we learned from the P5 game. We also need to be able to limit our space bar presses so that we can't press space bar while we're jumping. Let's like ignore that just for a second because I think it's, you know, I'll be able to show it like the problem to you very easily. We want to determine if the space bar is being pressed. So GGEasy does have the a keyboard, like an input. Let's grab that. So use GGEasy. I believe it's input. And then off of input, we can get the keyboard. And I think it's just straight in there. So can I just do keyboard? Right, so there's is key pressed. And I think that's all I want. And then we have key code here. So let's do is key pressed. I'm gonna go back to the beginning. We're gonna do if keyboard is key pressed, we need to pass it the context. Is key repeated, is key pressed, pass it the context, and then we have to pass it the key code. So let's bring in that as well. I think, oh, that might be off of in, oh, that's off of keyboard, isn't it? Key code. Where are we? Update. We don't need you. You were the previous one. So then we can use, okay, key code, and we want space. All right, so if the space bar is pressed, we want to now apply the jump to the player. So self.player.jump. And the player will handle jumping. The player knows what a jump is, what that force is. It's gonna be great. So no errors. Let's go ahead and run this and see what our jump looks like. Okay, I press spacebar. It blinks and disappears. That jump was way too powerful. So it's off the screen. If I leave this running, maybe like put it off to the side like that, we might be able to see. We might be able to see it come back down sometime during this. So our jump force is incredibly powerful. It can't be negative 1.0. We're gonna have to do something like negative 0.01. So if I save you, it still hasn't come back. Our player is just gone forever. Now, gravity is applying to it, so it should still like be starting to fall, except maybe not. Maybe it's still rising up into like the stratosphere. Let's see. Dusty, your main language is still German. Your accent when speaking English is still very well audible. I mean, I don't think that's a bad thing. I'd like, unless people can't understand you, but like accents aren't terrible. Although it's something like my company does a lot of voice recognition stuff, and there is it's something like I constantly bring up because I don't want anybody left out, is voice recognition with accents really sucks. Well, of course, I haven't also heard you speak, Dusty, so I don't know for sure. If you stream, I'll like stop by your stream and you know, take a listen. But yeah, like I don't know. So I guess I can't say anything. All right, so our jump force is a little bit too high. Not yet. Ooh, that means maybe someday. Let's try this. Let's see how our jump force is now. Okay, that's still a little bit fast. We could see it moving up. It didn't like Superman blink out of existence. Maybe one more 0 here. Okay, not bad. It's a pretty big jump. Let's add in one more 0. Up, and now this isn't powerful enough to get over gravity. So we've gone a little bit too far. So remove, maybe we can keep this 0, but change this to something like a 7. Let's just see how this works. So it's like still really kind of like floaty as it goes. I found that like coming up with these numbers it's both fun, but it's also a little bit tedious. Cause like, okay, let me try one thing. If I just tap space, that's my jump. It's tiny. That's not enough. Let's try 5. The other thing that's a little bit interesting is that if I hold space down, I might be getting bad information, because if I hold space down, I just fly up forever, because we're not limiting. We can jump even while we're jumping. So maybe something we need to do as part of this testing is make sure that we can only jump once. Like then we're in the middle of like a jumping. So we need to store in our player, like, are we jumping? Physics, good morning. You can't balance with a faulty jump security. Exactly. Like, I mean, is Superman jumping or is he flying? I mean, is there a difference? I don't know. And in ours, it's not. He's just jumping forever. Okay, so jumping is going to be a bool. Like, maybe I could call this is jumping. Okay, so is jumping is a bool. Let's set that to false, right? So let is jumping. Now, is jumping, I don't want to like have some kind of dynamic thing here. I want to specifically state that you begin jumping when you press space and you're on the ground. That's is jumping. So we're going to start you with a false. We're then going to add you into the player. Is jumping. Now, whenever we jump, we're also going to set is jumping to true. So self.isJumping equals to true. But every time we hit the ground, we're going to set is jumping to false. We're no longer jumping. Now, whenever we jump, so the idea is that we're going to allow the command to go through. You can try to jump as much as you can, but if you're in the air and you like do that motion with your feet, you're just going to look like a weird fish out of water and not actually move up. So we'll allow people to try to jump. It just won't do anything. So we're just going to say if self is jumping, and then I like to not use negatives, but unfortunately Rust doesn't like me to do like if this equals false. If I do this, then I'm gonna get what is it? It's not RLS, it's Clippy. Clippy's gonna yell at me. So we'll just do the bang. So is jumping. I guess I could create like another function that does that. Golden path. If jumping, return. Let's see. So if we are not jumping, then let's go ahead and let us jump. So you avoid indentation hell. Oh, I see. Do an early return and just like not do anything. Yeah, but like the bang also like works here. I could also do a match statement. I could create like a can jump function. There's a bunch of things we can do here. I'm gonna keep it like this for right now. So this should only allow us to jump if we're not jumping. So let's now see how this affects us. First of all, even holding down space, nothing, nada. So I'm wondering if like maybe our jump is just way too small, or we're not like stuff that jumping equals true. If self jumping is false, acceleration is too small. That's what I'm thinking. Let's jump force. Let's go back to like negative 0.1. Let's see what this is. Okay, this isn't too bad. If I add in like maybe a tiny bit more, so like negative 0.2, I think that will be a perfect jump for us. Okay, maybe not. That's just a little bit too much. It's like, oh man, coming up with like the combination of gravity, we're just gonna stick with negative 0.1 for this second. If we there's a sweet spot that you can like tweak all of the combination of gravity and the combination of your jump force to make it look exactly right. And from what I understand and know, if you make lots and lots of games, you just sort of get a good feel about this. One positive about using the acceleration and velocity that we have here, the jump is really, really smooth. But all right, we have jump. So that's cool. What would be next? Well, we're gonna want some kind of opponents, obstacles for us to jump over coming towards us. So I think we should do that next time. It's 7:53 my time. I have a hard stop at like 8:15 or so. We could see how far we get into that. You should use constants, easier to tweak instead of searching for values within a code. You know, that's a really good idea to use constants for like the jump force and everything else. Like that's also what like specs and ECS would help out with, because it would put them all into one place. Although, I mean, it's part of the player, so like knowing the player can jump that's like, I think that makes sense here. Also want to keep this the same that I did P5. So it's a good idea, Dusty. I'm not going to implement it right now, but mostly to keep consistent with the other game that this is modeled after. Okay. I guess let's begin thinking about creating our opponents. Although it's 7:54, I have 15 minutes left. You know, instead of doing that, let's just write down that that's what we're going to do in our README in here. So I'll create, not there. I'll create a README file. In the meantime, do any of you have any questions? Questions about like Rust, programming games, game programming patterns, anything like that? I will. I have a little bit of time. We can answer those. Skarsh, good morning. Yes, constants is nice to prevent magic numbers. Yes, absolutely. I agree with that. All right, so we want to touch readme.md. So in this README, do you only stream an hour before work, or do you stream more at other times? Right now, I am like, before work is the easiest time for me to stream. After work, I'm usually like making dinner. Sometimes I hang out with my wife. It's uncertain. So if I do stream, it was like I want to stream oftentimes, but then I get distracted by doing other things, and then I sometimes just like forget to turn on, or by the time I would stream, it's too late, time for me to go to bed. So if I do streams, it will never be. I don't have kids though, so I don't have that obligation, as it were. But I would say, like, if I do stream, it's gonna be like a last minute, completely unannounced stream. I'll probably like tweet out, but only when I start streaming. All right, so we are doing infinite runner Rust and GGEZ. Where like next steps. All right, so our next steps here, or I guess like if I note down like everything we've done for the game to begin with, that is, we just like spun up the game. So like create basic game. Then we created our player. So create the player. Apply gravity to the player. Have player hit the ground. Give ability to jump. Give player ability to jump. And that's kind of what we've done so far. Next steps are going to be, we want to like create some kind of obstacle. So create obstacle, and then have player run always to the right. Now, that's going to be kind of like a cheating thing, right? What that really means is obstacles move to the left. And then that gives us a simulation of running. And then we'll just figure out what's next based upon that, based upon what we have. I'm pretty sure that we're going to want player can run into obstacle. And that will be a problem, but we'll get into like those in the future. So we created the basic game, we created our player, we applied gravity to the player, we got the player hit the ground, we have the ability to jump. We need to create, so next time We'll create the obstacle. All right. Any other questions, or I guess like questions, comments?